video on these wild garlic bulbs. So I was digging the garden the other day, and I noticed where my wild garlic was, there was some bulbs, and I was like, oh, they're obviously the wild garlic bulbs, and they seem to be a lot bigger than I thought they would be. Now that's probably because they're growing in my garden, and I water them, and the soil's better quality than you probably find in the natural habitat for wild garlic. And I'm sure they were bigger than that. I once saw the survival expert Ray Mears saying that you could eat them, and they seemed a lot kind of bigger. But they're probably a lot bigger at the moment because we're only really a month past them flowering and going to seed, so all the goodness will have gone back into the bulbs, keeping them alive until next year. So they're probably a lot more plump now than there will be in a few months' time. But I was kind of thinking, Ray Mears said you could eat them, and I was kind of thinking, that's kind of quite interesting. So what I thought we'll do is we'll turn them into soup. We'll give them a wash, we'll cut off the roots, and then we'll chuck them in with some onions. So I'm doing a kilo of onions. I'm going to make some. So there's not a lot of bulbs there, but I think there'll be just enough kind of flavour to it to make the soup nice. So it's going to be an onion soup base, and those are going to be just a bit of a seasoning to it. So we've got a kilo of onions, 300 millilitres of water so far. They will drop down, so that pan looks kind of quite full, but onions are mostly liquid. Well, more liquid than a vegetable like a carrot, so like a higher percent of water to solid matter in onions than there are in carrots. So I found out that softer vegetables give you a lower yield in soup because there's more water in them for the weight. So looks like a lot of onions there. It's not. It's a kilo. There's certainly 3 stock cubes in there. We might put in extra, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash these. We'll probably leave them whole because we're going to puree the soup. We'll cut the roots off, clean them up. I'll weigh how much there are. You're not really supposed to. No, you're not. You're not really supposed to. You're not supposed to go out and dig up wildflowers. Even though wild garlic's everywhere, you're not supposed to do it. I grew mine from seeds during lockdown. So that's why I've got them in the garden. Seeds are pretty easy to collect, and they'll grow anywhere with wild garlic. A bit shady spot rather than direct sunlight. So clean them, wash them, put them in there. I'll weigh them, and then we'll make some soup, and then we'll see how it tastes. But I think it'd be a nice background flavour of garlic rather than the overly powerful, pungent garlic flavour. That makes sense. These onions feel tender. So we've got 300 millilitres of milk. There is 25 grams worth of peeled, prepped, just wipe the camera, wild garlic bulbs. So as you can see, it's dropped down, and that's the liquid coming out of the onions. So we'll give it a quick puree. We'll turn the blender on first. So these stick blenders are brilliant, but there needs to be a certain amount of liquid for them to get things super smooth. So 300 millilitres of milk in there. I thought this pan was going to be too small, but it looks like we're going to be okay. More liquid. Hopefully that won't fall over. So another 100 millilitres. I've got boiling water, so just a rough estimate of 100 millilitres of liquid. And then we'll taste and we'll season. I think No, it's okay consistency. It's certainly going to need some pepper. Hopefully that's not going to fall over. It wants to fall over. So, pepper. That much. And a spoon. Give that a quick. Use the blender to mix that. And now, give it a taste. Yeah, it's fine consistency, is that? I would always add the milk at the end, because there's always a slight chance that it will curdle while it's cooking. That's lovely. I think you can't really, probably should have used less onion, so probably could have got away with half the amount of onion to make that soup and 50 grams worth of wild garlic bulbs, or 100 grams worth of wild garlic bulbs. I think you'd taste it more, but it goes to show. I say you can taste it, but it's just made it a little bit more oniony than normal. But it's nice and it works. Kitchen's fallen to bits. Now, how do I think if you've got wild garlic in your garden and you're taking it out because it's overgrowing, it's taking over the garden, I think a good idea to use up the bulbs like that. I don't think necessarily a good idea to dig up your wild garlic bulbs in your garden and turn them into soup, because next year you're not going to get any wild garlic. So if you're thinning them down or you're getting rid of wild garlic in the garden, I think it's certainly really good and makes a delicious soup. However much garlic you put in, not just fast, will be, so the more garlic you put in, the stronger garlic it's going to be. But it's kind of quite simple. So I think as a background throw, it's lovely. I think I think as part of a soup, but it needs a lot more to be a wild garlic bulb soup. But it's delicious, and there we go. So I'm going to enjoy that, and it's going to feed me today, and it's going to feed me on Thursday as well. So that's lovely. That's a success. I'm happy with that. The yield, don't we? I forgot. So how much have we made? We have made just short of 1.6 litres. So it's made 1.6 litres worth of soup. So that's a good old sized portion. So seems what I'm going to do, seems I'm going to have this on another day, to save on washing up, I'm going to put the soup that I'm going to have on Thursday, I'm going to put that back in the pan. Now I've wiped it and it's clean, so we'll put back in half the soup, so I'm putting 800 millilitres back into this pan, and then that's going to go in the fridge, and then I don't have to mess around with save myself a bit of washing up. So that can be a kitchen hack for the day. So I'll be eating out of that, which there's only me here, so it doesn't really matter, and that's going to get used, that'll be used on Thursday to heat up, and it's already in the pan, therefore saving a bit of washing up.